We know that as we move through these SAT math sections, the questions get more difficult. And I think that that is true, and I think that this question reflects that. However, I will say that questions that involve graphs, they get more difficult in a very predictable way. They get more difficult because the story gets more confusing, the data gets harder to look at, but ultimately it's still really about just like following instructions. They're telling you to look somewhere, look there, read what you're supposed to read, you should be fine. These should still be kind of easy points to earn, even when it's supposed to be a hard question. So there's a whole story here, but we can skip to the end. They're telling us to focus on the point, the swim, that took 34 minutes. So here's 34, and so I follow that up, and I can see that there's a lot going on there. But specifically, if you zoom in, you can see that it's this point right here that we're concerned with, because that point is the one that's specifically on 34 minutes. Okay, the other one above is a little off, and so ultimately it wouldn't cause us to get the wrong answer, but that's not the point that they're talking about. Okay, so the other piece of this is maybe a definition thing we just need to make sure we keep track of. For the swim, that's 34 minutes, that's the dot. The actual heart rate was about how many beats per minute less than the rate predicted by the line of best fit. So we're looking then at the y-axis, what's the y-coordinates. But when we talk about actual versus predicted, this is a thing we just need to memorize. The dots represent the actual values, they're the data, and then the line represents the predictions. Because basically what's happening is, in statistics, if we have a bunch of data points, there are some formulas that we can use to connect the dots. Now, obviously, we're not literally connecting them like we did when we were young, but they're connected in a way that's mathematical. So we found a line that matches the data as much as is possible. And so what we're doing here is then just saying, okay, the line is not real. It's a prediction. So it lets us fill in the gaps. The dots are real. There was an actual swim that happened that's represented by each of those dots. So what we're really being asked to do here is, what's the difference? We're really just saying, okay, what's the difference between the dot here that I pointed to and the place where the line crosses the 34, okay? So you can see I made like a little gap here. There is a difference, and it pretty much amounts to one box on the y-axis. So we need to think about what one box means, and this is another place where the SAT tries to up the difficulty of a question, is they mess with the scale. They change the value of the boxes from what we're used to so that we make a mistake. So we might think, oh, one box, that's choice A, but that's a trap. It's not. Because if we look, each box is equivalent to 2, right? 142, 144, 146, 148, 150. So B is the answer because a box represents 2 beats per minute. So there's a lot that you have to know here, I guess. And if you've never taken an SAT and you just show up for your test and then see this, then yeah, it could be intimidating and seem very hard. But I think this is one of those cases where you see just this one question, and suddenly every other time they're asking about lines of best fit and actual versus predicted, and you see a scale that's changing, you should be prepared and be able to lock in those points very easily. So it's an easy question disguised as a hard question. Try to keep that in mind if you see another one like it, because I want you to have the confidence to make sure you know that, yeah, it's probably just about looking wherever they tell you to look.